Hey everyone, welcome back to Valley Chat. Pastor John Carolus here with a special guest this week, Anastasia Rosenow, who serves as a missionary in Ecuador. She's the daughter of Pastor Alan and Linda Rosenow, and she's doing some incredible work in serving women who are in some desperate and even dangerous situations. And she's been willing to join us in conversation today and share a little bit more of her work and also just give us some insight into the world of mission work. Anastasia, thanks for jumping on today and thanks for being willing to share.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's great to catch up and to share. So I live in Quito, Ecuador. I've been there for almost 5 years now, and working with an organization called End Slavery Ecuador, and we serve women in prostitution in Quito.
Well, thank you for doing that. And 5 years, it's incredible. I feel like I remember when the opportunity first sort of came across your desk and then you started out and now it's been, I believe, the longest time you've been in one place. Can you share a little bit of kind of your journey toward Ecuador over the years?
Yeah, for sure. Um, so when I graduated college in 2019, I had connected with Mission of Christ Network, and they had a spot for me at a school in Slovakia, and so I said yes to going there. Served at the school for 2 years, teaching English and Bible classes. And then after that, I had kind of dreamed about getting back to a Spanish speaking country. I had studied abroad in Ecuador in college and just loved it, and so I kind of always dreamed about going back. And then I actually reached out to the study abroad program that I participated in as a student and said, maybe they need people, and so I got hired and was back in Ecuador and just kind of leaving it in open hands, like, Lord, if this is where you want me to stay, like there'll be, something beyond this 1 year with the study abroad program too. So yeah, I loved Ecuador once again. And after that year was over, I made a connection with the director of this organization that I work with currently. And it really seemed like a need that they had and a passion of mine just lined up perfectly. And so I felt like God was just putting that right in my path. And so I've been with them ever since, and it's been great.
Yeah, it's an amazing story that, you're spending time in Eastern Europe, and then this door opens, and all it sounds like because you had this experience with a study abroad program in college. Would you say that's maybe the one of the inspiring factors as far as what sort of has spurred you on into continuing and first of all getting into and then continuing in mission work? And what is it that really kind of triggered your devotion to this lifestyle?
Yeah, it was very interesting. Going into college, I was on a physical therapy track, gonna study exercise and sports science and everything, and then God completely changed that plan. My second year of college, I actually went on a study abroad program that was traveling for a whole semester, 10 countries in one semester, traveling with our professors and a bunch of students. And studying as we go and serving in each country that we went to. Um, and it was on that trip where I was like, I think God might be doing something here. Like, I think this might be something. But I really was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know that I can do that. And each place that we went and the missionaries that we met and talked to, and I got to know, I was like, okay, well, they seem like normal people. Maybe I could do what they're doing. And, it's kind of something that I might be doing if I was in the States, but just in another country. And I was like, okay, I could maybe do that. And so from there, um, I felt like, yeah, the Lord is just faithful and like leading me. I ended up changing my major. And then, yeah, the year after that is when I got to then study in Ecuador. And I felt like it was just even more of a confirmation, like, yeah, I have the skills, that you need to be able to thrive in another country and like adapt and learn a language. And so, um, Yeah. Felt like
Yeah,
he was just contributing at each step.
yeah, thank you. I feel like, for a lot of people who maybe don't have much exposure to missionaries and mission work, there's sort of a caricature of the kind of person that's able to do that or that has devoted themselves to that. And I remember sitting in a missions class in seminary, and we had this presenter who was in Kazakhstan and Mongolia. And kind of between the two countries, working with tribal people that went kind of back and forth across the border. And so he's having to learn very, very unique languages and in a cultural context that's very different than kind of Midwestern or just Lutheran Church Missouri Synod culture. And then on his like introductory page, he's talking about how he's a Packer fan from Wisconsin. And I'm like, wait a second, like that's a very like familiar idea to me. And here's this person who's got his family and he's over there serving. And I think anyone watching or listening would be, um, uh, just the normality of who you are and the fact that like, okay, this Scottsdale native who spent your life studying. I shouldn't say spent your life, but studied at Concordia, Irvine, and then took advantage of one of their great study abroad opportunities. And now God's using you in that incredible way. As you have come into contact with people over the years and in different places who are serving, who are the kind of people that you would encourage to maybe think about taking a step toward exploring mission work? What kind of you mentioned skills do you need to survive in another country, and what kind of heart posture does it take to be serving in that way?
Yeah, I think, um, really, I think it's anybody can do it if that's what the Lord is calling you to. Like, He's the one, that gives you everything that you need. I would say, yeah, it definitely takes a heart posture of like humility and learning, especially at the beginning when you're getting to a new place, a new country. Um, yeah, one of my professors in college described it as like you're basically like a baby again. Um, so you have to learn everything from, from square one. And so the language and how the everything works, even just like grocery shopping and things like that are super, simple and a given for us here, but you got to figure out how to do that in another context. And so a lot of patience, yeah, a lot of humility, and curiosity is helpful. Like you want to learn about, the people that you're there with, and yeah, and just trust in the Lord that He's guiding you through the whole process. So yeah.
I I love that expression. It's like being a baby again because it helps to sort of get away from what sometimes is like an unhelpful sort of attitude. I think sometimes I know I've been guilty of bringing into mission experiences where you sort of maybe like when I was in college and I participated in a mission trip for the first time to Kentucky, I remember thinking like, "Oh, I'm coming to help, and I
Mm.
am, I'm a part of this provision in their lives," and that's it, it's not meant, it's a sort of an accidentally arrogant view, and the humility piece of, really, it's a privilege to be welcomed into another community and welcomed by another culture, and then given kind of the patience and the time and the relational trust to learn and establish yourself there, and then participate as a meaningful member of that community as well. And that takes time, and it takes humility, and it takes a special kind of flexibility too. And so it definitely is something that God calls people to do. And yeah, again, just I love hearing it, right from you, and hearing your experiences. Which brings up an interesting kind of question that sometimes people talk about, long-term and short-term mission work. You have obviously the semester abroad, working your way through 10 countries and, 16 weeks or whatever it was. Um, that's a long series of short-term mission trips. But as you've participated and witnessed both kinds of mission work, how are some of the ways you've seen God work through both of those sort of styles?
Yeah. I think, yeah, I think God can work in so many different ways, and especially when we have people coming from multiple cultures or, different areas of the world or backgrounds, like, all coming together, I think that is super cool, and for me, what I love about it is, like, I get to see more of who God is through other people's perspectives. And so whether that's a short-term thing or a long-term thing, I think that's one of the coolest things that we get to experience of, like, more of the body of Christ, more of who God is. Um, and yeah, I think with short-term, experiences, I know that, like, I mean, for me, that it had a really big impact on my life, and it was like, just the step into, um, okay, maybe I could think about this going longer term. And I know that happens for a lot of people who do end up serving long term. And so I think that's really beneficial, but also short term teams where, like, maybe you go every year or every couple years and it's like an extended relationship, even if you're only there for a week or so. But it's not just like, okay, we're going to come in and then, like, we leave and never talk again. Like, but continuing those relationships, even in other ways too, is really meaningful. And then, yeah, with long term missions, I mean, there's a lot of other things that you get to do when you are living there long term and you're just, like you said, part of the community and living your life there and getting to, yeah, see how people are on a day-to-day basis and influence them and get influenced by them. And yeah, it's a lot different, but I think, yeah, it's really cool I think you get deeper into, like, the cultural differences when you're there longer. Um, like the deeper rooted things, deeper held beliefs and values. And so again, sometimes that's a challenge, but also a huge blessing. Yeah, one of the things in Ecuador is that, like, family is just a huge, huge value, super important. And I think, yeah, that has definitely, like, influenced how I feel and act and believe now about even, like, my own family and, like, the body of Christ and,
Mhm.
like, what
Mhm.
that means to be a family. So yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah, thanks for painting those pictures because the the idea that you get to know God better through exposure to different kinds of people is such a great way to describe even the pictures of eternity that we have, in the pages of the Bible. Every nation, every tribe, every tongue, and we
Mhm.
have the opportunity because of the Spirit to be participating in that reality, each and every day. And one of the aspects of short-term mission work that I think it can impact people who maybe don't have the opportunity to do it regularly every year, or to go to the same place regularly and form deep relationships with a local person, is that they come home and they can draw from that experience in their daily life in the context that God has placed them in the majority of the time. And so it's
Mhm.
sort of like this reverse ripple effect that can change lives, in people who have never stepped foot outside of their city, but because of the way that God works through the people that they're connected with, there's just some amazing things that can happen as well.
Yeah.
So as you are living out on the mission field, you aren't totally on your own. And what does the picture of making that realistic look like in terms of support, and how do you make ends meet, and how does God provide for your necessities through life? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I have a whole network of people that support me financially, through prayer, send me messages and things like that. And that it does make a huge difference because if you're just going, you're out on your own, it's a lot harder. And, trying to do things just on your own is more tiring. And so, anyways, it's just a huge encouragement for me, I think, especially knowing all the people that are praying for me. And um, yeah, I think, a lot of people when they're starting their venture into the missions world and they come up upon fundraising, they're like, "Oh my goodness, that's so hard. Like, how could I ever do that?" And I think it is a thing that keeps people from serving on the mission field. But I think, well, my theory has just always been, if God wants it to happen, He's going to provide. And I have totally seen that in my life, and He's provided through so many different people in so many different ways that I, wouldn't have even expected, and has just been so generous and kind. And so, yeah, I've never like worried or like questioned, because I'm like, I know God's going to do it. And like, if He doesn't, then that's what He wants, and great. So yeah. And yeah, I think it's a big encouragement to me, like knowing there are these people who are like thinking of me and praying for me, and rooting for me, from across the world. And
Yeah.
so yeah.
As if anyone's listening, and isn't currently, a supporter of you, I would just, encourage them to pray about that, and certainly be praying for you and the work that you're doing, and they can uh, access maybe that more information about supporting you. We'll include a link on the posting of this video as well. Now, for people who are at home, what is it that they can learn from you and sort of implement in their lives, whether it be a heart posture, whether it be a practice, whether it just be a prayer, maybe? What is it that can make each of us missionaries in the various vocations that God has given us, wherever we might be living and serving or working?
I believe that Jesus called all of us to be missionaries right where we live, right where He's placed us. And so it might not be going to another country and, learning another language, but I think there's a lot of ways that we can be open to the people around us. And I think one of the biggest things for me has been maybe just like slowing down my day a little bit, or building in like buffer time where it's like, oh, if I run into somebody on the street on my way to a meeting or whatever, oh, now I actually do have time that I can stop and talk to them, rather than like, oh, sorry, I have to get to my next meeting. Um, just building in a little extra time in your schedule, even if it's just 10 minutes, for those interruptions that you never know if they might happen or not. Jesus was never in a hurry. So I think that is a cool way. And then also, like, being intentional with people that you see regularly, like maybe it's the same checkout person at the grocery store, or, your barista or whatever. Like, if you see them regularly, um, yeah, it doesn't hurt to strike up conversation. And like, I believe a lot in that, like, things take time and relationships take time. But if you show up consistently and you can be intentional, like, God's going to provide the right moment. Um, and yeah, you might not like expect it on a certain time, but yeah, he's working those moments to come at the right time. So
Yeah, I feel like it's pretty powerful what can happen when someone knows they can count on you, and they may never ask you to prove yourself to them, but in the attitude that you carry into the interactions you have with them, and even in the intention that you show, uh, asking about how they're doing or remembering something about them, then God opens doors to have conversations that lead into other areas as well, and there may be a avenue of support and just love for your neighbor that He can help you provide for them, and also the conversation around what their spiritual life is like, and are their spiritual needs, being met by Jesus. There's a phrase that I love to repeat to myself, which is, the most important person is the one who's in front of me. And so the
mm,
practice of like building in buffer time and not feeling like this maybe Western pressure to pack efficiency out of every single minute of the day allows you then to treat human beings like human beings, and have those uh, spirit kindled moments. And so thanks for sharing that. Those are really wonderful ideas, and it's always great chatting with you, Anastasia. Thanks for sharing some of your story and your heart with us. And if anyone has any questions or wants to connect with Anastasia, again, you can use that link that we'll include. And we look forward to joining whoever will be on our next Valley Chat episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.